Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attended the 32nd Intellectual Seminar of the Armed Forces, marking the 47th anniversary of the Great October War victory. During the seminar, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli addressed the event and tackled the achievements that have been taking place here in Egypt with regards to the mega projects that have been implemented. And he said that nearly 400 trillion pounds have been spent on the development projects here in the country. And as we mentioned earlier, we'll be talking about this very important topic. Therefore, we're very much delighted to have with us here in the studio His Excellency Ambassador Ayoub Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial. Very good morning to you, Mr. Ambassador.
Good morning to you and to the viewers.
Thank you very much. Ambassador Ayoub, how do you evaluate the development projects that have been implemented here in Egypt? We have seen yesterday Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli talking about such projects. How do you see his statements?
When we look to the period before 2014, for the 30 or 45 years or 40 years or even 50 years, and compare it to the just 6 years which we are witnessing now, we see by contrast the mega project or all the projects, especially the mega projects which have taken place, is quite phenomenal as far as economic development is concerned, and as far as standard of living is concerned, and as far as standing of Egypt on the international fora is concerned. I will begin with the economic part of these mega projects. When we look to the new administrative capital, new industrial areas in Bani Suez and Elmenia, economic zone in Suez Triangle, we find that also in El Alamein and elsewhere in this Upper Egypt, we find that it is a big success stories which new generation should know about and take part in and contribute to its continuance and success. We have seen that. We compare to what we have seen in the last century, in the 20th century, at the end of the century, and compare last 150 years, for example. See how Egypt within 6 years have implemented projects which you were just dreaming of some years ago, and now we see it on the ground. This means that we, all the Egyptians, have to stand one line in backing to these projects, because they are the first and most important beneficiary of the projects. It is our country, and you have to support, be quite careful as far this is our project. These are our projects. We should contribute to its success, because it is for us and for our sons and grandsons, inshallah.
Yes. Ambassador Ayoub, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has toured so many projects in the past period. How do you see such tours and the impact of what he said? I mean, yesterday the President talked about the achievements. He said that what has been achieved in the past few years equals 20 years of achievements.
Yes.
And he has been touring so many projects recently. If you could brief us about such projects.
When the President himself goes to the Bieta, for example, to new furniture city, when he goes to Upper Egypt, and when he goes to Luxor, and wants to go to Giza.
You went to Mustorod also recently for the energy project, yes.
For energy project. This means that the President himself is caring, or not too much, is much caring to every single project which is implemented on in Egypt. This means that he is following, carefully following each and every project which is development project which is implemented or being implemented or will be implemented, because the result will be gained by all the Egyptians. The result will reflect on stability, security. When I say stability, I mean economic stability and security stability, and creating an environment which is inviting the investors to come.
Yes.
The investors go to where the market is, first of all, stable. Second, lucrative. I will say that Egypt now, after 6 years, is a very stable country as far from security point of view, and also from economic point of view. When we say Egypt, we are speaking about more than 100 million consumers. Why I say consumers? Because any investor is looking who will use his product, whether it is product or service. He is looking who will buy it. When we see that a big market like Egypt is in good command, stable and secure, most importantly, the laws governing investment, excuse me, the laws governing investment in Egypt are quite transparent and quite conducive and quite, let us say, positive as far as would-be investors is concerned. We look to investors, why? Because the local savings rate is about 14%, 13 or 14%, which is less than needed. We need at least 30% savings. Who complement this other half or 16%? It is foreign investment and local investment. When we have investment law, one window for all investors to deal with, and most importantly, every ministry, the ministers themselves are so keen that every ministry should generate income, even service ministers, they are generating income now to the budgets. Why? Because we need to finance the mega projects, more mega projects to come. It is not only what we have seen, but more mega projects in powers, in land reclamation, which is very important, in industrial zones, in land development, also beside reclamation. There is also developed as in Alamein, New Alamein, and in Marsa Matruh. These are big hubs for would-be investors, which will be reflected on employment. Every government is looking to employment, raising the rate of employment or diminishing the rate of unemployment. And this is one thing. Other than that, other important factor is how easy is it for the business persons to work in this environment. This is what the new laws are made for. President himself, when he finds a problem, he tackles it on the spot. And this means that the would-be investor or the investors who are there already are sure that they have the official backing of at the highest level. Foreign investors look to first stability, security, stability, and also clarity of laws.
Yes.
Clarity of laws is very important. When I say clarity of laws, I just hint to the local bureaucracy. Local bureaucracy is now afraid of any infringement on the law. They are quite afraid that any malpractice by them, they will be severely punished. This is what was needed. We did not have it before. Now the bureaucrats are quite sure that whenever he is caught with malpractice, he will put behind the bars.
Yes.
This is very important for them and for the others who are in the fence, still on the fence, looking what will happen.
Yes.
So the development which Egypt has seen during the last 6 years is more than doubles several times what we have seen in the decades before. We are very pleased for that, but pleased is something, and working for continuance is something more important. It's not something else, but rather we have to create the environment which encourages, which is very important, foreign investors to come. Why? When we see that inflation rate is coming down, unemployment rate is coming down, growth rate is 3.3 plus, more than 3%, while other countries in the world, within this COVID, the growth rate is almost nil. And still Egypt is more than 3% growth rate, despite the COVID and despite what is happening in the international trade, the receipts of the Suez Canal zone, and the transfers of the Egyptians abroad still. Despite all this, still the Egyptians are able to generate development on the ground, and this is what we have seen and will be seeing. And we should be very clear. We should all stand as one block or one line behind the leadership, because it is for our own personal, advantage, and for the generations to come.
So, Ambassador Ayoub, we're talking here about the importance of, foreign investments to the country, how Egypt has been working on this in the past few years and actually succeeded in attracting foreign investors to the market in so many fields. The question is, what is the impact on the Egyptian economy in general, and the impact on the Egyptian citizen in particular? How would he feel the positive impacts of such projects?
You touched upon the most important point, impact on the Egyptian citizen, on the individual. When foreign investors know there is clarity in laws, there is welcoming environment for foreign investors. And when the president himself is inaugurating foreign investors projects in Egypt, whether in Upper Egypt, in Aswan, in Binban, in solar energy and thermal energy projects, when he is seeing that the investor, he is sure that the backing of the government he is assured of the backing. This is one thing. Other thing which is very important, we always need foreign investors. Needless to say that investor is looking to higher income for himself or higher interest in this or in that project. Egypt is a very lucrative market for any investor or would-be investors. When the president goes and inaugurates ventures by foreign investor in Suez Canal Zone, for example, or in Upper Egypt, or in Alexandria, this means that there is an official backing, and we are so keen to attract more investors. I will not speak about what is happening in the Mediterranean Sea, and we have seen gas exploration and petrol exploration, and even in the Western Desert. That is a big chunk of investment and a big chunk of income for Egypt. But I'm looking for the industry, for land reclamation, that's agriculture, and for the service which support. When we speak about, for example, 6 years ago, all the Egyptians were complaining of the energy.
Yes.
Power cuts all time. Not only Egyptians, but also the factories were complaining about power cuts. Now, we don't see any power cuts. This means that the investment in power sector has been phenomenal. I add to this something very important. When you see the network of roads, which you have seen from Alexandria to Aswan, in the east and in the west of Egypt, the roads are like the veins of the economy. When we have good roads, it encourages production, minimizes the cost of transportation to the ports. Yes. And when I say to the ports, I also from the ports to the production sites. So the new network of roads, which has been established, several thousands of roads have been established. I have seen it recently in the Western Desert. I was astonished that we have not seen this. We have not seen just 3 or 4 years ago. We did not see it. But now, when the investor come, and we need also to promote these products. What I mean with that, promote, that is marketing what we have done to the would-be investors, whether in Egypt or overseas. They should know what we have done, and that this market, I was always speaking about the market. This is a big market for any investors. This is a big potential for profit in the Egyptian market. This is a big consumption base that is consumers in this country. I add to this something very important. Egypt, during the last 6 years, have been invited, the president has been invited to several international fora. Why in the forums? Why? Because they are seeing that Egypt is emerging economic power in the area, merging solar, gas power in the area. That's our gas hub for all the gas in Mediterranean, whether from Israel, from Lebanon, from Syria, from Lebanon, from Cyprus, and from Egypt, to be liquefied and then exported to Europe or other markets. So we created a hub for gas industry in Egypt. This means that any industry is sure of the supply of the power which they need, whether electric power, thermal power, or power through gas. All these 3 components are quite conducive to any would-be investor to come and invest in Egypt. We are very sure, we are very keen to have more investment in Egypt than we had in the last 6 years. Why? Because we need more investment, and whenever we see that there is rise in the standard of living, this means that the chunk or the percentage of the income which you are able to save, this 13% should be 15% within a couple of years. The 15% can be complemented by another 15% from foreign investors. We need investors, we need stability, we need security, and we are lucky that we have stability and security during the last 6 years. What is needed now is that the Egyptians should work together in one line, backing their government and backing development of their economic projects, which we are seeing. In Aswan, we have seen it. As I mentioned, in Beni Suef and Mania, we did not know that, but there are a lot of projects, industrial projects, I mean, which you are seeing in Beni Suef and Mania. In Damietta, we have seen that. Suez economic zone is very important because it is an attraction point for Chinese projects, for Russian projects, and for Western projects, and maybe for Japanese one and South Korean ones. We are creating a hub for investment in the Middle East. Before that, they went to Jabal Ali and the Gulf area. Now, they are not going there anymore. Luckily, they are coming to Egypt because we have stability and the clarity of laws. Clarity of laws is very important for any investor because he is calculating how many days will it take to have his project and begin production, what is the cost involved, and how easy will it be for him if he wants to divert investment to another, that is to sell his project to other investor and
exit the market.
Yes, exit the market,
Exit the
and to another sector in the same market in the future.
Switch to another
another sector. Yes.
Yes, yes. Ambassador Ayoub, you mentioned something very important about the projects in the field of road networks, something that was also mentioned yesterday in the seminar, and the huge investments in this field, not only outside the cities to connect cities and to minimize the cost of goods and transportation and so on, as you said, but also inside the cities. I am a resident of Heliopolis, and I have seen how traffic changed and became smoother.
A lot.
More is expected in Nasr city soon. I mean, things have changed even inside the city for the ordinary citizen, if we're talking about the impact of projects on this, the immediate effect, not the long-term effect. The impact has been felt by the
All
citizens.
of us.
Yes. And also the monorail project that will connect Alamein to Sokhna. These projects, the vision to connect and the administrative capital as well. The vision to connect Egypt through a huge, a new network of roads, of transportation is being already implemented and is already being felt by the citizens. How do you see
When
that?
we say roads, it means the veins of the economy, the veins which supply the economy with the blood. That is, the ease of transportation is very important as far as cost of production, time consumed, and its reflection on the marketing capabilities of any product. What we have seen in the capital, Cairo, I am speaking about a capital of 14 million inhabitants, not just a few millions. It is 14 millions. You rightly mentioned what is happening in Heliopolis and Madinat Nasr and other parts of Cairo, and which is felt. In the beginning, some people were complaining, but now they are smiling and they are very happy with what they have seen. So the people need to be a bit patient as far as the development projects which are taking place inside Egypt, inside the cities. What is very important for me, the network of road networks in Egypt, from Alexandria to Aswan, from Port Said to Alexandria. This means that the economy is in a good position now to have a very good takeoff and fly. And we are very sure that within just a few years, the growth rate in Egypt, it is more than the growth rate in many or most of the countries in the Middle East, by the way. This to begin with. Second, when we see that many foreign investors are coming to the gas sector, to transportation sector, to power sector, and to Suez Canal zone. Why did they come here and did not go to other places in the world, and they're very available, many places available? Because it is a stable economy, a stable country, and they are sure that it is a lucrative market. Another thing which we should care for, Egypt has established a very good connections with all Arab countries and the African countries through bilateral and multilateral trade agreements. This means I have access to this market. That is to say, many Chinese companies are now coming to Egypt to use it as a springboard to the African market. They establish the industry in Egypt. It gains the certificate of origin of Egyptian origin, and then we export it as Egyptian products to, let us say, Ghana or Ethiopia or Uganda or South Africa. It is made in Egypt. So we have every interest in encouraging the foreign investors and taking care that we are be very clear, and corruption should be dealt with in a very, very severe way. And this is what we have seen, and we'll be seeing all the time. Corruption is always will be severely punished, and we have seen this. Many officials have been severely punished. This means that we are sure that any investor who is coming to Egypt, he is in good hands. This is one thing. Other thing is that Egypt is our country. It is for us all. We should all care for every iota in it. We should be caring for that. This is the difference between the Chinese citizen, for example, and the Egyptian citizen. Before that, some people were negligent or careless or whatever. But now it is our time to take care of everything which we have, because it is for us and for our children and for the generations to come.
Yes.
This is one thing. Other thing is that the public image which we create for the Egyptian economy is a very good tool to encourage would-be, those who are just thinking, would-be investors to come and invest in this market.
Yes. Finally, Ambassador Ayoub, and very briefly, before we wrap up this segment, I would like also to shed light on the development projects in Sinai, something that was also mentioned yesterday in the seminar.
This is a big chunk of business. Why? When we have more than $220 billion invested in Sinai, during, let's say, the 36 years, we have done nothing in Sinai, nothing tangible in Sinai. During the last 6 years, we have seen the network of roads. Now, not only exploration of raw material, but rather of creating industrial projects in Sinai. The big chunk of money which is invested in Sinai means that more population is going to be diverted from the valley or from Delta to Sinai. So there was a vacuum. When there is a vacuum, it encourages aggression, and we have seen that. So creating a new presence of the Egyptians and the Egyptian projects in Sinai mean that we are more secure from strategic point of view, and from economic point of view, and also from population point of view. Many people now, when I see new generation is going to Sharm el-Sheikh and Dahab and Ras Sedr and Abu Znima, trying there to establish their presence, and in many cases they are succeeded in a very short time, and saying to us, well, I'll not go back to Cairo. I will stay in Sharm el-Sheikh, I will stay in Abu Znima or Ras Sedr. Why? Because I established presence, and it is quite a lucrative place, and I would say hub for any new investment investment to come. When the government is investing this big chunk of money in Sinai, this means that we are securing it for the present generation and for the future generations, and they should be encouraged in every possible way. When I say encourage, that is to buy Sinai products, buy and export Sinai product straight to the international market. When I look to the Bardawil lake, for example, the fish is exported from Bardawil straight to Europe, to European market. I have been part of it for some time, and now we are seeing that a big chunk of investment is going to Sinai. We are very pleased for it, and we thank the government for diverting the investment to Sinai to make us more secure for tomorrow.
Indeed. I'd like to thank you very much, Your Excellency Ambassador Ayoub Mahmoud Ayoub, former Minister Commercial, for being with us this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and to the viewers.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. Some sports news coming up next in the upcoming segment of this edition of The Breakfast Show.